Imagine cruising down a quiet street late at night, just enjoying the drive, when flashing blue and red lights suddenly appear in your rearview mirror. That's exactly what happened to one man driving an old car in a small town. But this wasn't your typical traffic stop. It was a group of white police officers pulling over a black man, laughing as if it were a joke. They assumed he was just another unlucky driver they could intimidate for fun. What they didn't realize was that the man behind the wheel wasn't just anyone. He was their captain, the very leader of their department. The moment they discovered his identity would change everything, bringing hidden biases to the surface and testing the captain's resolve. What started as a reckless act of prejudice was about to turn into a powerful lesson they'd never forget. What happened next left everyone stunned. The man sat calmly in the driver's seat as the officers approached, their flashlights shining through the windows. They seemed smug, throwing each other knowing glances as they prepared to make their move. "License and registration," one officer barked, barely hiding his grin. The driver, dressed casually in jeans and a jacket, reached into the glove compartment without a word. His movements were deliberate, his face unreadable, but there was a quiet confidence about him. The officers didn't recognize him. After all, it wasn't every day their captain drove an older car, one he cherished for sentimental reasons. To them, he was just another target, someone they assumed wouldn't push back. The captain handed over his documents, watching the officers closely as they started running his information. Their smug attitudes quickly began to shift. Suspense filled the air as they realized something wasn't adding up. What they saw next made their hearts sink. As one officer stared at the name on the license, his confident smirk faded. "Wait, this can't be right," he muttered under his breath, glancing nervously at his partner. The other officer leaned in to look at the screen, and his expression quickly mirrored the first, confusion giving way to dread. They exchanged panicked looks, realizing the man in the old car wasn't some random citizen. It was their captain, the very man who led their precinct and held the power to shape their careers. Meanwhile, the captain remained silent, his sharp eyes observing their every move. You could feel the weight of their discomfort growing as they scrambled to figure out what to do. Their arrogance had dissolved, replaced by unease, but the captain didn't let them off the hook. He wanted to see how they'd handle this moment, hoping their reaction would reveal the deeper truth about their intentions. The officers hesitated, their hands twitching nervously by their sides. One of them cleared his throat and stepped closer to the car, trying to regain some authority. "Ah, sir, can you step out of the vehicle?" he asked, his voice shaky now. The captain raised an eyebrow, but didn't move immediately, letting the weight of the moment settle. Finally, he opened the door and stepped out, standing tall under the harsh glare of the patrol car's lights. The officers couldn't hide their discomfort as they realized they were face to face with the man who signed their paychecks and evaluated their performance. The air was heavy with tension, each second stretching out as the captain watched them carefully, waiting to see what they'd say next. He could see their panic, their struggle to piece together an explanation for their actions. And then, in a calm but firm tone, he asked, "Is there a problem, officers?" The officers froze, their faces pale under the flickering lights. The captain's question hung in the air like a challenge, and neither seemed to know how to respond. "And no, sir," one of them stammered, his voice cracking under the pressure. But before he could say anything else, a voice crackled over the police radio in their car. It was dispatch, requesting an update on their location and status. The timing couldn't have been worse. Both officers looked at the captain, their panic now impossible to hide. Then, the captain did something they didn't expect. He reached into his jacket pocket, and for a split second, they tensed, their hands inching toward their holsters. But he didn't pull out anything threatening. Instead, he held up his badge, the very same badge that outranked both of theirs. "You didn't recognize me?" he asked, his tone sharp. Before they could answer, headlights appeared in the distance, another patrol car approaching the scene. The situation had just become much bigger than they could have imagined. As the second patrol car rolled to a stop, The officers exchanged panicked whispers, desperate to figure out how to salvage the situation. The captain remained calm, his badge still in hand, his steady gaze cutting through their excuses before they could even speak. The officer from the arriving car stepped out, clearly confused by the scene in front of him. "What's going on here?" he asked, looking between the captain and his colleagues. The captain's voice was calm but firm as he turned to the new arrival. "These officers pulled me over tonight. Care to guess why?" The officer hesitated, his confusion quickly shifting to realization as he pieced together what had happened. But before anyone could speak again, the captain revealed the final twist. He gestured to the dashboard camera in their patrol car. "Good thing you left that running," he said. "I think this will make an interesting training video." The stunned silence that followed was louder than any words. The officers stood frozen, knowing there was no way to undo what had just happened. The captain's words hung heavy in the air, a reminder that their actions weren't just careless, they were being held accountable. After a long pause, the captain took a step closer and said, "This is about more than just me. It's about how you treat everyone. Tonight, you showed me who you really are. Now, it's time to see if you're willing to change." The second officer from the arriving patrol car nodded silently, understanding the weight of the moment. Without another word, the captain turned, got back into his old car, and drove off, leaving the officers to reflect on the lesson they had just been taught. The video captured that night became more than just evidence. It became a powerful reminder in their department about respect, accountability, and the importance of integrity in every interaction.